look at the military for the level of structure that they provide you, the sense of security of knowing you have a place to fall back to. And just remember that when you don't need to fall back to that security, be part of that security. Choosing the military was an easy task for me, particularly because my dad and my granddad were both Army veterans from the World War I and II. Ultimately, I didn't realize, but my son and my grandsons are all military as well. They've all served. But I started there, with what I thought was, not so much public service, but duty. I mean, I thought we were supposed to do that. So I got in '68, went through my military career, got back out, got married in 1971, and decided that, probably the best thing that I could do is try to find a really, really good job. So I used my military skills to try to land a decent job, and I did. At the age of 25, I went to Southwestern Bell. So I went and took a test, and they were giving points for military veterans, and boom, I got in. 34 years later, I retired. Which was what gave me the opportunity to continue serving my community, because it was a good job. I mean, everybody kind of wanted to work for the local utility company. It was a good paying job, and I was doing well at it. While I was there, Southwestern Bell at the time ultimately became AT&T, but Southwestern Bell really encouraged its employees to be involved in the community. And in my case, of course, I was in the reserves at that time and serving and getting all the permissions that I needed to from my employer, and later on started doing a little bit more than just that level of public service. So I started doing a lot of other things: United Way, PTA, Pop Warner football, and as my kids started to grow, I have 4 now grown children, and so I started doing all the things that typically dads do. Again, don't ever consider that public service. You just do that because you're supposed to do that. You're a dad. You're supposed to do that. And ultimately, I started getting very, very interested in an elected service. In 1990, I ran for school board. Was then and still is the 4th largest school district in the state of Texas, Northside Independent School District, about 108,000 students right now. I served on that for about a decade, became president of that board, and started learning quite a bit about school finance, shortcomings, shortfalls, where we needed to help our school system be better, be able to deliver a quality education that we all wanted. After getting out of that, I continued doing my AT&T work, got on the Region 20 Board of Directors, which is an educational service center. Basically, they handle multiple counties. They do program instruction. They take state program directives and teach usually the smaller school districts on how to implement some of those directives that the state gives them. So I did that for about 8 or 9 years. Then I decided, maybe now it's time to jump into something a little bit more engaging within the community. So I ran for city council in the city of San Antonio and won. I served there for 8 years, 4 terms, and got an opportunity to serve on a lot of different committees that ultimately, and I guess I didn't really realize it at the time, were going to serve me well here in Austin, becoming a state representative eventually, which was not a plan. I just kind of evolved that way. I got to serve on the Alamo Area Council of Governments, on economic development initiatives. I was chairman for the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is all construction, highway construction. There's a lot of stuff that I was involved in. And I was able to do that because I had already retired from AT&T. And for the most part, I was a full-time, unpaid, because city council members don't get paid, full-time city councilman. And so I had the time to be able to commit to engaging in all those civic involvement endeavors. Difference, I am not one to say that I enjoy or like the politics of it, but I very much do enjoy the governance of it. And I think it's because I grew up in a structured environment. I failed to mention when I graduated in 1968 from Harlandale High School, I was in the ROTC. It was kind of like the military and structure was part of what I did. And I go, here's the problem, here's some possible solutions, figure it out, find some funding and get it done. It sounds pretty simple. Well, we know it's not that simple. And I've used a lot of those experiences here in Austin. We were very, very focused on, throughout the entire 3 terms that I was there, on some very critical issues that we all are very familiar with relative to veterans. One of them certainly is the veteran suicide rate and the causes for that. Well, we don't even know for sure how many veterans are committing suicide. And to make sure that we have our county coroners who have to certify every single death in every county in Texas recognize that, was this suicide? They have to check it one way or the other, and was it a veteran? And then we can start finding out what the root causes are, and then we can start fixing them. We think we know a lot of them, but we haven't we're way over on our count, on our body count. To the extent that we've had some bills that were passed. For example, one particular bill that I introduced and passed was to designate September the 22nd being notable for that was the number of suicides that were happening at that time. Could be less, could be more, but 22 was the number, so we picked September the 22nd. We're working on bills to be able to do that. Bills that go from, allowing, for example, family members, the spouses of a veteran killed in action to have their property taxes waived. You would think, well, of course we would do that. Well, that wasn't law. We needed to make it law. And we need to do those kinds of, digging deep into the veteran benefit packages that are out there to pick off every single one that needs to be improved. And because of my position as vice chairman, I'm able to take a look at a lot of stuff and actually find out where the gaps are, and then make sure that we get an author to bring that bill forward or bring it forward myself so we can continue doing work. I partnered in a nonpartisan bill with Donna Campbell. She carried it in the Senate, I carried it in the House, and we got eligibility. And I can tell you, in the House and the Senate, if you say Medicare, Medicaid, you're probably dead on arrival, unless you have someone that understands and can tell the story well. Senator Campbell did, I did, and we were able to get that passed, and it is now law. And so we're being able to support the regional community, Bexar County and the 5 surrounding counties, to continue having that very mission critical level 1 trauma care in our region. It's that kind of stuff. Most people that haven't been there don't quite understand it. And usually the way it works here in Austin is people bring you bills. And you look at them and say, yeah, that's something I want to carry, you carry it. And you go out and you lay out the case, and then you bring people to testify. It is much more powerful and much more meaningful that once we get beyond the committee testimony, that I can also go talk to my colleagues on the floor and make sure that they understand how critical that particular bill happens to be. We've had a handful of them, from employment to transition to housing, and just on and on and on, that deal with helping our veteran community and their families. And of course now, Joint Base San Antonio, which with all the military installations in the area, have really given us a lot of additional missions that are coming to San Antonio. Of all of them, I would think one of the ones that is probably most economic development-wise is the fact that we have NSA, the National Security Administration, and the cybersecurity, Air Force Cybersecurity, headquartered in San Antonio. They're not there because they like the weather in San Antonio. They're there because the city of San Antonio, in collaboration with its utility companies, both water and power, and the telecommunications company, the company I work for, AT&T, built an infrastructure that could support NSA, that could support all the cyber security requirements that the military has. And it has brought a tremendous amount of industry. San Antonio has the largest, for example, in the commercial sector, the largest Microsoft data center environment, along with a bunch of other companies that are data center centric. Microsoft, their largest facility, including Seattle, is in San Antonio. It's because we built an infrastructure that basically was built to serve the military, the government, and all of the things that come with that. And part of that meant that a lot of things had to be built out, redundancy and all of the things that were necessary on the commercial sector that made it attractive. And it's put San Antonio in a very unique position. We've been able to leverage that significantly. San Antonio, I don't know that the moniker it will stick as much as Military City, USA, but certainly we're the Silicon Valley of Texas. We clearly do, I think, a very good job of taking care of our veterans, recognizing them. And certainly there are communities like San Antonio, in El Paso, Dallas, Houston, even Austin, where veterans are, always a focus of interest. From having veterans courts to addressing veteran homelessness, we're all doing all those things. It becomes an issue of how much money can we apply to it, and are we putting it into getting the best return for our investment that we possibly can. But I think Texas is doing a really, really good job of that. See, look, you're gonna get an incredible experience in the military, and there's a code that goes with that experience. It says I'm certified in these areas, and it's your MOS or whatever your military specialty was, and you're gonna have that, and that's gonna translate into a job. When you come back, you say, hey, listen, I was in the military for X number of years, and this is what I did, and they're gonna take that, and they're gonna look at a little chart, and they're gonna say, oh, yeah, you can do this, that, and the other, and we'll bring you in a little bit better pay, and we like to recruit, folks that have been in the military because you're a little bit more reliable, perhaps, and on and on and on. But you're gonna get a lot more than that if you are willing to use it, and that's what you're gonna learn from a patriotic, civic perspective. You're gonna learn, and earlier on in this interview, I talked a lot about how I grew up, and I could have gone back even years before that, from my 7, 8 years old, being in the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts, and coming to San Antonio from a little rural town, and there were no Boy Scout troops to go to. My parents wanted me to be in something because they knew that the structure was important. I got into Civil Air Patrol. I mean, they wanted me to be involved in something. And then when ROTC became available, I got into that. And so my entire life has been around structure. And what I tell them all is look at the military for the level of structure that they provide you, the sense of security of knowing you have a place to fall back to. And just remember that when you don't need to fall back to that security, be part of that security. Give your time back to the military in a civil, civic way. Give back. Nobody's gonna do it if you don't. And that's kind of the advice I tell them. It will evolve, and you will, at some point, branch off, and doors will open for you because of your military background, because of your military specialty. Just remember, you've been trained that once you cross that threshold of opportunity, you got to work. Just like you did in the military. I can only talk about the things that have driven me, and at my age, be true to yourself. You don't have to convince anybody how honest you are. It'll show. You don't have to convince anyone how hard you work. It'll show. And if you wind up throughout your entire experiences in life letting people know that you did your best, what more can you ask for?